willkommen zu einer weiteren Ausgabe des Offroad Motorrad Magazins bei Eurosport.
Hey, benvenuti su Eurosport e buon divertimento con Offroad Motorrad Magazin.
Bonjour, bienvenue sur Eurosport. Je vous souhaite beaucoup de plaisir à suivre Offroad Motorrad Magazin.
Hey, benvenuto su Eurosport.
E con noi divertirvi su Offroad Motorrad Magazin.
Well, if you want it in English, welcome to our December Off-Road Magazine. Our two-wheel special, sometimes on one wheel, and we're going to be looking at highlights of the past season. What a season it's been for the Enduro guys. We'll first stop on our world tour, the Isle of Elba, where Napoleon was once exiled. It's early in the year, there's a bit of wind blowing across the land, and the water temperature is not at all inviting. North of the Alps, it's still in the dead of winter, but here, spring is in the air. And we're here for the Transitalia Elba 500, a small rally, just right to get warmed up for a tough season ahead. Well, the Transitalia Elba 500 is part of the Italian Off-Road Rally Championship Series, and in comparison to the other events it might be small. It's ideal for first-time riders. The length 3 days, and it's 500 kilometers. And what's really interesting is that so many different types of vehicles and big names in international racing also take part. They want to be there. Let's take a look at things from the vantage point of one of the riders. Clearly dominant on this weekend event is Italy's Fabio Fasola. His opponents can't compete with his overall times. Fasola lives and runs his enduro adventure business on the island. It means he's more familiar with the course. We're sure he's got a certain home advantage, but he has to use a road book, just like everyone else, to navigate, since the organisers don't make public the course until just before the start. But there's no doubting Fabio Fasola's riding skill. He's 4 times Italian Enduro champion and 3 times off-road rally champion. KTM's Heinz Kinnikadner is also pushing as hard as ever. But he takes a lot of wrong turns on this miniature-sized course. Used to bigger distances in the desert, he's a hard time with abrupt changes of direction. The result, hours of penalty time. Heinz is not too bothered though. For the Austrian, this rally is just practice for the coming year and a chance to test equipment for tougher races to come. Again, Fabio Farioli, the 3 times world enduro champion. This rally serves him as practice too, following an operation and a long break from competition. It's the first race where he's ever had to read a road book. That's giving him and everyone else problems, especially since it's a fast race and distances between turns are so short here on the island. Sooner or later his enduro nature has to take over. He takes the more difficult but the wrong route, and that puts him out of the running for first place. Giovanni Sala, 4 times world enduro champion. He also adopts a more challenging approach, but he chooses the wrong path as well. Reading a road book's not his cup of tea. He's just here to give his machinery a good workout. Well, in addition to these top few riders, the unusual variety of vehicles is also worth mentioning. Sidecars, 3 wheels, and quads, 4 wheels. And there's a newly established class too, the off-road scooter. Caught in the dust of the motorbikes. Try going to Dakar. 4 car on that. For the results, 4 car on that. 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 4 car on that Tough to beat on their home ground, the Italians take all the top positions. Next stop on our world tour, the French Atlantic coast. The popular beach race, the Endurée de la Touquet. Though it's taking place for the 20th time, it retains all its original fascination. 300,000 spectators and more than 1,000 riders. It's a mass start, 7 kilometers up the beach, goes down to a right-hand turn, and 100 meters further on, the road narrows to 4 kilometers. It's a huge traffic jam, but that's just part of La Touquet. Planned chaos is part of the tradition here. The race was first developed by Thierry Sabine, the late founder of the Paris-Dakar Rally. Originally intended to provide overworked dentists, managers, etc. with an outlet for their stress-filled lives, it's since become one of the most famous beach events in the world. And Thierry Sabine's father, Gilbert, himself a dentist, has now taken over the reins. The race lasts 3 hours, and whoever rides the most laps in that time wins. Over the years, every off-roader, or anyone who considers himself to be one, has ridden La Touquet. It's said that to have never been in the La Touquet is to have never lived. No pain, no gain. Well, believe it or not, out of all this chaos actually comes a winner. In first place on this year's race went to France's Arnaud Dumester. He had the high speed on the beach straight away at 183 kilometers an hour. That's 110 miles per hour. If you're French or French speaking, it certainly helps. But now to the start of the World Enduro Championship Series in Castellón, Spain. This is the 6th year of the series, a series consisting of 6 rounds in the season. The first race provides the chance to check out equipment and see how one measures up to the competition, to get a glimpse of what one's special rival is up to. The course is typically Spanish, mule trails, tortuous, strenuous, but not particularly difficult. The worth special attention is the comeback of off-road superstar Stefan Peterhansel. He's looking to compete in the entire World Championship Series, having had another Granada Dakar. A week later, during round 2 of the series, in Tomar, Portugal, things have got a bit more demanding. Here the course doesn't just take over mule trails, there's challenges of many different types, truly worthy of World Championship status. Top riders assume their front positions in the table, and those not up to the high standards here do their best to save face. Is that Alain Prost we saw here? Surely not. As we mentioned, there's different types of challenge. This is Snake Creek. The locals warn the riders there's more snakes in this little creek than the whole of the rest of Portugal. Even the mule trails are in a class of their own, and superstars like Peter Hansel have a tough time with them. Giovanni Sala, 4 times World Enduro Champion on the cross-country test. It's a fast course through a eucalyptus forest. Seems to remind him of Australia, where he rode absolute best times in the eucalyptus forests and took overall victory in the 6 days. And indeed, on this day, hardly anyone could match the Italians' times on this forest stretch. But on this day, hardly anyone could match his times. As we said, only the Australian Shane Watts coming close with something like similar times. As for the points table after the race, all the established riders settled into the top positions in their respective displacement classes. Up to this point, Giovanni Sala and Kari Tejanen have taken all 4 day wins up to this point. You're back with Eurosport on Offroad Magazine. This is Mark Cole. We're looking at the Tunisia Rally of 1995, the 14th year of the event, which is organised by Cyril Neveu, a past Dakar winner. And it's a rally race which has become one of the favourites of its kind. It's affordable to amateurs who can end up doing quite well here. Now for a look back at the Rally Tunisia of 95, technical inspection at Saint-Tropez, checking in on the ferry boat and then off to North Africa. Total distance, 2,000 kilometres. The duration, 7 days, 126 riders signed up to start. But the first stage had to be shortened considerably due to flooded shocks, something like quicksand. The risk of a disaster here would have been too high. So the start proper is moved further south. First leg from El Khama to El Cantara. The first 10 of the field start 1 minute apart, everyone else at 30-second intervals. On this first day, nothing much happens. Seeded riders Alan Olivier, Teddy Magnaldi, Heinz Kinnegadner and Jordi Arcarons fight over mere seconds, while the rest of the field does its best just to make the distance. The first real test comes on the El Borma Loop, the sand dunes of southern Tunisia. For the leading foursome, this is the moment of truth. And for many newcomers, too great a challenge, and they can succumb to the endless desert. Well, those who make it have the worst behind them. And Heinz Kindergärtner comes out of the sand dunes as victor and takes the overall lead. Olivier, Magnaldi and co. are only minutes behind. Will Kindergärtner be able to ride his lead to the finish? No. Only second and fifth gear are now working, and they've put him out due to transmission trouble. That clears the way for Alain Olivier. He goes on to win the Rally Tunisia of 1995. From the searing desert to the icy north. Next stop, Finland. The 60th Päijänteen in Podajajo, the famous and notoriously tough race through the snow-covered Finnish woods. But while in the rest of Europe spring has arrived, here in the extreme north it is still the depth of winter. The 60th time this event is taking place, it has to be held at this time of year because later the lakes thaw out. It starts in Helsinki, heads north, around the Päijän Lake and back down to Helsinki. 1,000 kilometers off-road in 3 days. All the big Finnish riders show up for the race and they're not to be beaten. First place goes to Mika Ahola from the World Enduro Championship scene. Next stop, the San Severino Marche in central Italy, round 3 of the World Enduro Championship. It rains most of the time. The Italians have drawn up a challenging course, made all the more difficult by the intermittent showers. Well, this passage on the first day of riding presents the biggest difficulties. The top riders make it without any major problems, but they transfer mud from their treads to the rock surface, making it almost impossible for riders following later. There'll be traffic jams, and eventually the event comes to a complete standstill. The organisers have to neutralise this sector. Also this weekend there's an unusually high number of crashes on wet grass and tricky paths. Otherwise, all goes as planned. Well, 1 week later, round 4 of the World Enduro Championship in Pont-de-Salars, France. A difficult test is expected because the French are always demanding in drawing up their courses. And as far as organising enduro events, the French, everyone agrees, are by far the best. With a big disappointment, the new generation of FIM commissioners eliminate the most difficult stretches. But even with the most difficult parts gone, there's still rough spots that put top riders very much to the test. Well, not much more than a few metres, but it's better than nothing. Top riders manage without much problem, but farther back in the field, there are traffic jams and yelling. The result is that this part gets taken out of the race in round 2. Well, that leaves just one rather uninteresting part for onlookers, an unspectacular stretch of mud on the cross test. From an athletic point of view, it's nothing special, but the riders, an Oscar Nationale and enduro freak from San Remo, raise spectator morale. Stefan Petterhansel crashes out badly and has to drop out of the World Championship Series. Same with Fabio Fagioli, who breaks a collarbone and his shoulder. And that's it for the World Championship round in France. So in the table after 4 rounds, the Finns Sylvain, Giovanni Sala and Mario Rinaldi and Kari Tainen are at the top in their respective displacement classes. This man deserves a medal. Well, the next 2 rounds took place in Scandinavia. Second to last round of the series in Linköping, Sweden. Sunshine for sightseeing, but rain for competition. For the best part of the race was the fast, tricky, slippery cross-country tests and a cross test on the permanent course. Otherwise, it wasn't particularly demanding. From the athletic side, there were a few clear favourites. Mario Rinaldi out in front in the 350 class, but his rivals close on his heels. Everything still wide open. Kari Tainen in the big 4-stroke class can breathe easier now that his main rival Fagioli is out of the running after that crash in France. If the Finn keeps up his advantage, it'll be his 5th World Championship. Karl-Heinz Holtz. Well, he spins. But all in all, Germany can be proud of him. He's consistent and always in the point rankings. The event's coming thick and fast. A week later, the Enduro finale in Yrjönmäki in Finland, hometown of world champion Kari Tainen. It's a good reason for extra effort on the part of the organisers. They get the Best Organisation Award, and it's a good course selection for the last test. Giovanni Sala leads the 250 class. No one can catch him anymore, and indeed he takes the World Championship crown yet again. That gives him his 3rd title in a row, and including his Team World Championship titles, he now holds 5 world titles in all. Anders Ericsson manages to take the World Championship crown in the 350 4-stroke class, beating the Italian Mario Rinaldi in an exciting finale on the last day of the series. What inevitably threw the scales was Ericsson's teammate Born Carlson, who finished between the 2 top contenders. A mere 3 seconds difference to Rinaldi's disadvantage was all that separated him from number 1. Kari Tainen takes the crown easily in the 500 4-stroke class, his 5th World Championship title too. Thus the Finn becomes the most successful rider in World Championship history. And how special to reach the greatest triumph of one's career right in the town where you were born. So at the end of the 1995 Enduro World Championship, these were the final standings. Well, a few weeks after the World Enduro Championship, Eurosport invited the best enduro riders in the world to the ultimate test of skill, Battle of the Kings. Along with the finest riders on the enduro scene, we also invited Georges Jobet, 5-term world motocross champion, to make a comparison. 8 different tests were planned. The will to win was strong. The chance to match strength and skill with one's equals kept the top riders motivated. First competition was motocross. Maurizio Carminati, junior cross champion, took the lead from the start and went on to win. Giorgio Bay blew the start in his speciality. Riders got as many points as the place in which they finished, but in the end, the man with the least number of points would be the winner. Test 2, the whoopie-doos. A series of elimination rounds until just the winner is left. These concrete bumps are more strenuous than they look. Those who hope to make it to the finale here have to have good technique and also to be in good shape. Everyone here fits the bill. Incidentally, the riders here hold 24 World Championship titles altogether, but no Fabio Fadioli still injured, and surprisingly the 500 champion Kalle Tianen turned down the invitation. Finale, Giovanni Sala against George Jobé. The Belgian loses control briefly, and the Italian wins. Next test, gravel road. Riding surface is a bed of small pebbles, 30 centimeters deep. Something like riding on ball bearings. It just doesn't hinder riders at this level of expertise. It's awesome to watch. But Anders Ericsson bites off more than he can chew, does a textbook high sider. Ooh. Getting a bit cocky. That little move will cost Giovanni Sali the second he loses by braking. He gets back on. Lucky again. But absolutely fastest on this course is George Jobé. Jobé did exceptionally well on the gravel road, but exceptionally poorly on the cross-country test. Goes to show that a cross rider isn't cut out for this kind of discipline. Wary descent. Tries to jump across the creek. But he lands in the bushes. And he's disqualified. Winner of this test is Giorgio Grasso. All right, George, you can come out now. Next comes acceleration test. Finale, George Jobé against Tullio Pellegrinelli. The Belgian brakes later, just about equal in the turn, but in the end the Italian just gets the acceleration and pulls away better. Let's have a look at that again in slow motion. Pellegrinelli in front. Suddenly Jobé pulls away, but the Italian wins the finale by only a very small margin. Speed cross next, a circular course on a fairly dry patch of grass. Giorgio Grasso in action, pushing it to the limit. Riding the 125 he rode in the World Championship. Anders Ericsson on a 350 four-stroke Husaberg. Giovanni Sala wins this test. Overall, Sala is in the lead, followed closely by Tullio Pellegrinelli. Well, after the Enduro test, the last one, the Supermoto, George Jobé wins this contest, moving him up to 4th overall. The king of the off-roaders for 1995, though, is Giovanni Sala. So ends the Battle of the Kings. Top performance on part of the riders. Objectively, though, the event tended to favour the two-strokes. The four-strokes were somewhat of a disadvantage and ended up en bloc at the bottom of the table. But no one complained, and a good time was had by all. An attitude befitting true world champions. few days later, Georges Jobet met up with a group of off-roaders in Paris for the start of the longest rally in the world, the Paris-Moscow-Beijing. From Paris to Travemünde, from there by Finjet ferry to Helsinki, and from there a series of connecting stretches to St. Petersburg, and then on to where we are now, somewhere beyond Moscow. Here, where the endless expanse of the former Soviet Union begins, is where the daily special stages also start. It's the second time the rally takes place. There were 35 bikes, 20 cars and 10 trucks at the Paris start. A small number perhaps, and a lobby group in France responsible for the virtually non-existent media coverage of the rally. There's fear too it would make competition for the Paris-Dakar. But the future perhaps lies in some of these countries to the east. Huge public interest and of course newly emerging markets. The rally passes through Russia, Kazakhstan, Mongolia. Intensely beautiful, untouched by nature. 12,000 kilometers, 22 days.
Through the snow and through the rain, blasting and cutting through God's country like a knife.
Heinz Kindergärtner, Georges Jobet and Jordi Arcarons battle out the lead. Jobet crashes and breaks several bones. He's out. The Paris-Moscow-Beijing is characterized by extremely long stretches to be covered in a day. The longest, more than 995 kilometers. Out of the 35 bikes that started, just 12 make it to Beijing, and after 12,000 kilometers, first place goes to KTM's Austrian rider Heinz Kindergärtner. But from China we go back to Austria, Kindergärtner's homeland, an idyllic, tranquil, mountainous region of Austria called Rachau. Usually a sleepy romantic town, once a year it becomes the centre of attention when motorbike riders come here to try to climb the Devil's Wall in one of the toughest and craziest motorbike events in Europe, Hill Climb Rachau. And this, it has to be said, the most popular of all our Offroad Magazin coverage this year. Let's have a look at it again. Well, America had its hill in Colorado. Austria has Rachau, and it's one of the more rugged events in the world enduro year. Here in Europe, certainly becoming one of the most popular. There's no lobby groups or business compromises, the rules. Everything here is straightforward, and it's down to nature. And usually all the way down the hill again. The riders who come to compete here have the same sort of people with one direct goal on their minds: to ride up this mountain. Well, the rules, that there are simple. Whoever gets up the highest wins. The point where the bike stops before it tumbles or rolls back down the mountain is the mark that counts. And more than 200 riders from 6 countries showed up for the 95 event. No serious injuries, a few bruises and a few sprains. The reason is most of the impact of crash energy is absorbed by the steep incline. In addition, all the riders are wearing extensive protective gear. Part of the trick is not to get collected by your bike as you're both on the way down. But one thing's for sure, these daring feats are appreciated not only by the adoring crowds, but by the replacement parts industry as well. Dereliction of duty by the spectators there. It takes all ages as well. This gentleman is just 17. This one's 16. And Ortvin Bugel is 53 years old. Well, this performance earns him the record for flight distance. Just look at this. It's a good thing the meters one falls back aren't subtracted from the total distance. Would you believe damage was minor? Repairs for handlebars, lever, light switch came to no more than £130. It pays to land on the tyres. Well, this one's trying to copy Bugel's attempt. And this one. Stefan Dollhofer sends his bike flying. After that one, the spectators wisely got out of the way. We didn't quite get the same marks of Bugel, and the landing wasn't at all right. The Husky hits the ground where it's most vulnerable. It's a £1,000 repair bill for this bike. And the onlookers, of course, are at a complete loss for words. Bernhard Huber. His distance is about average despite technically superior riding style. With a graceful way, he moves back down the hill. It's a pleasure to watch. Course marshal with an airbag, just in case. The worst crash of the weekend went to Ronnie Richter. Tried to go back down with the bike again. And that's not just mud, that hill, it's sharp rocks all the way down. Maybe he's got the brakes on. But Richter somehow got away uninjured. As far as injuries are concerned, ski accidents in downhill racing, soccer matches or ice hockey fights are far more dangerous, even though a crash in hill climbing might look more serious. Not quite the way to do it. And Michael Fritzer crashes out worst in terms of material damage. This Husky just completely fell apart. Well, the good news for Havoc freaks is in 1996, hill climbing Rachau would be a part of the newly established Off-Road Challenge, made up from some of the more extraordinary off-road contests in Germany, Austria and Italy, with cup status. Hill climbing Rachau 96 will last 3 days due to increased rider interest, more than 400 apparently wanting to do it next year. Friday and Saturday, elimination rounds, and Sunday, the real contest. Oh, there was a contest, of course, and here's the results of this year's. Well, this is the Erzberg, the Pikes Peak of Austria. This is something that could become the race of the future. Based on the idea of the legendary Mountain Trophy, we've decided to try organising a similar event for motorbikes only. Optimal terrain, perfect conditions. Day one consisted of a prologue, a Pikes Peak. A 3-kilometre trek up wide gravel paths to the top of the Erzberg. The races on this day were to decide the starting order for the tough enduro of the second day. Over 200 international off-road contestants came to take up the challenge. Man of the day was German Karl-Heinz Holz. Carefully executed riding on his powerful Husaberg puts the competition far behind and earns him first row starting position for day 2. On day 2, the start is in groups of 50 with 1-minute intervals. The course is the kind of tricky spots and a high degree of difficulty that makes for really tough enduro racing. There was, however, a lot of confusion. A lot of falls as well. So the Erzberg Off-Road Challenge certainly became challenging. Alfie Kotz from South Africa won it. Holtz was second. Well, the last date on this year's season in review, Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates, the Desert Challenge 95. First year that motorbikes are competing in a race that belongs to the FIA's World Automobile Cross Country Championship Series. 30 desert riders have come to take up the challenge. One of the top riders here is Heinz Kinnegadner. Starting number 1, he takes the lead from the first day onwards. Kinnegadner's biggest rival is Frenchman Denny Magnaldi, who stays right on the Tyrolean's heels throughout the whole event. Fabio Farioli, first time riding in a real desert rally. Navigation is new to him and it gives him such problems that he never emerges as a serious favourite. For Georges Jobet, it's also a desert rally premiere. The same goes for Fink, who's clever enough to keep close to Kinnegadner, thus managing to take 2-day victories and without any help of any navigational equipment. Jürgen Meyer, an experienced rally pro. He's good at navigation, so he comes in high in the rankings at the top of the field. Here the leader, Heinz Kinnegadner, and closely following him, Jürgen Fink. Georges Jobet had problems with navigational equipment, so he too was sticking close to the leader. And on the final day, Heinz Kinnegadner, once again out in front, still being closely followed by Jürgen Fink, who again manages to take the victory for that day. But Kinnegadner maintains his slight advantage over Magnaldi right into the finish. Heinz Kinnegadner, who won the Paris-Beijing, also wins the motorbike premiere of the Dubai Rally 1995. Matteo Magnaldi lost some minutes of important time on day 3, catching up only on the final day but finishing second overall, a margin of just 2 minutes. This rally included 1,500 kilometres of special stage. Well, that was 1995. We on Eurosport with Offroad Magazine will be back again in 1996. In addition to classic themes like enduros and rallies, we'll be bringing you more flashlights which focus on the worldwide off-road scene, especially those on other continents. We'll also be paying special attention to the new series Offroad Challenge 1996, which consists of different types of international races, especially those of the more unusual or spectacular kind. The series has cup status, it has prize money, and venues for the series are Germany, Italy, Austria, and Croatia. An outline of the new series. The Yeti Challenge, in February, takes place in the snow-covered mountains 2,000 metres above sea level. The group start. The course includes transit roads, forests and gullies, racing against the clock from start to finish. It's a challenge for those who like it cold. And he'll climb Rachau, the most popular, most spectacular and toughest steep slope race in Europe. Will anyone ever be able to climb this mountain, the so-called Devil's Wall? And if so, we want to know who. Then the Elba Challenge, a weekend rally on Elba, road book, beach racing, and other amazing tricks. Plans also underway for adding the Bergamash Challenge. It's a mass start in the river, like in the Cavalcata. Serious enduro in Valley Bergamash, right in the heart of enduro country. Then the Dirt Track Challenge, Supermoto in Germany with conventional asphalt and a seriously difficult off-road part 2. Finally, there's plans for 2-hour enduros, plus some serious enduro racing in Croatia. All in all, a series with a very different type of events, where the diversity of off-road racing is in the foreground, and it's hard to determine who's going to win. For information on the series, send a fax to the number on the screen. Well, so much for the last edition of Offroad for 95, but don't forget, Eurosport will be bringing you every night the Granada-Dakar Rally preview next Wednesday with Ben Edwards, and myself, Mark Cole, and Ben bringing you every night during the event starting on December 30. Happy Christmas to everyone. Enjoy off-roading.